Okay, we are back. Bunch of y'all dropped off. I figured y'all would. This is going to be a large one or a long one. And it is July 4th. I do not have my family here, so obviously I'm not able to participate in festivities. But I appreciate you guys that are either working today, my first responders, my cops out there that are missing one of many holidays. Appreciate what you guys do, man. So we will get on with the $5 and $1 questions and try to knock this stuff out. Let me get the tablet fired back up. $5 patrons. 14 questions. RCS Perrin, outside the waistband holster. Jay Johansson's looking for a Glock 17 with X300. Concealable, but strong side, right? Yeah, RCS Perrin is it's a good Perrin LC light compatible. It's a good holster, man. It's pretty low profile for being a light bearing holster. You know, it's not a Phantom. They don't do the Phantom anymore. So, you know, it's not going to be like all stupid vacuum formed or whatever. But it's good to go, man. I got one. I beta tested it. You know, that was one of the last things that I did when I was still consulting for Raven. It's a good piece of kit. Joe K. Chuck Tom, hope everything is going well. Signed up for an upcoming no-fail pistol class, looking to stock up on a few cases of consistently accurate 9-ball for Gen 534. Want to remove as many variables as possible. You should. That's all good. Spear Lawman has come highly recommended. That's what I use. Problem is, there's about 7 or 8 flavors of the stuff. It's all about, you know, I have not gotten real deep into MagTech as far as like shooting MagTech for accuracy. MagTech's going to be a little bit cheaper than Longman. Lawman's good. Lawman's good ammo, though. I get it. The 124 seems to be the most like kind of readily available at decent prices. The 147 Lawman is generally more expensive. So it is kind of jacked up that I do my accuracy demos with 147 HST, and then I shoot 124 once we get out of that like 25, 20 yard bullseye stuff. Then I load Lawman, and it shoots, you know, a little bit high right, but not bad, because at that point during the class, I'm giving them a little bit more of the bowl, you know, either the entire 10 ring or all of the black is their, you know, accuracy standard or whatever. So I'm partial to 124 Lawman. You can get it on SGA ammo, ammoman.com, you know, whatever. You should be, like on the notifications for all of those online ammo sites, and then just looking for the steals and deals when they get a huge lot in or whatever, and they drop the prices or they have a special. That's when you should bam, you know, throw it down. And so yeah, if you have Lawman, I got guys that come to the class and shoot no-fail pistol with Blazer Brass, man, like, you know, or Faroki or, you know, whatever. I see a bunch of bunk ammo at no-fail class. And it's because the guys kind of are self-aware of where they're at. Like, hey man, I'm not capable of holding the gun in a sub 3-inch group. Like I'm a, open hand at 25 kind of guy. So that ammo is not the deciding factor. It's the shooter's capability, what they're bringing in, or whatever. And so guys like that, either due to financial constraints or whatever, and I would rather have somebody, come with 1,000+ rounds of lower quality ammo and come to the course than not come to the course at all. Once you get your fundamentals refined, you can absolutely outshoot your ammo, your range ammo. You're fully within the capability of it. And the pistol that specifically that you talked about is absolutely capable of sub 2-inch groups at 25 yards with duty ammo. And that might be a 3.5-inch group with Blazer Brass or something like that. I've put up high 90s with Blazer Brass. Blazer Brass 124. I've gotten some 98s and 98s and 99s with Blazer Brass before. So if you bring some lawmen, man, I think you'll be fine. Cody Jacobs is asking about, can you guys discuss what you consider to be some of the most important qualities for a leader? I'm going to defer that until Tom gets back in here, because Tom was actually a leader at that he finished out as a team leader. That was his last, duty position before he retired. I had not been a leader since, for a while. I went back to being a nug. So he has newer, more relevant leadership experience. I will be bringing in my flavor to that as well. Owen asks, is there merit to a captured buffer spring for AR platforms? Yeah, if you've got a folding stock, if you've put a law on your system, but there at the end of the day it's all dependent on the shooter's individual gun. At the end of the, it is having the ability to fold your receiver extension and buttstock and reduce the size of your platform and potentially fire the platform while the stock is folded. Is that capability worth the reliability of your gun? So if your gun runs with this new operating system, then now it's just, do I need this other capability or not? And then potentially the only question is parts. Like, do I have enough parts to sustain this weapon system? And if you've got spare parts and the gun just flat out runs, then it's just a matter of, well, do I want to have a folding stock? And if having a folding stock is a benefit and there's no downside, then yeah, get a folding stock, bro. Get a captured system, and drive on. Matt Dropko is asking, talk more about hot, humid weather, nutrition, and hydration. Not as much what brands to use, but sugars and caffeine and physiology. How long are they supposed to last? He saw a commercial for the Kind nutrition bars talking about how Cliff Bar brand uses rice syrup or whatever and slamming it because it's just sugar. talking about not complex carbohydrates burning through the sugar and then not having any extended range fuel in the tank. That's what he's getting at, or that's the marketing angle that the brand Kind, is taking. What is the role of sugars on long hikes, runs, biking, or other endurance cardio fitness? If it's immediately getting burned up, is that bad? Is water sufficient most of the time? So it all depends on the length of your exercise. So I normally did not fuel the machine, and that was kind of out of ignorance. I normally did not fuel the machine during road marches, ruck marches in Ranger Battalion that were less than 3 hours in duration. So the weekly 6, 8, 10, 12 milers, I was not taking in fuel other than potentially some Jolly Ranchers. So I would have rock candy and I would suck on it, and that would give me a little bit of sugar. But I mean, it really wasn't all that much. I think it was more just for like flavor, or might have given me a little bit of a bump, whatever. When I started doing extended rucks, 4 and 5 and 6 and sometimes 24-hour movements, where you had a lot of time under ruck, then yeah, you had to fuel. And that type of fuel is the stuff that you're wanting to last longer. You're wanting to take in more complex carbs. They're going to take longer to break down or whatever. On the keto side, one of the first dudes, and he was actually one of Tom's mates over in Tom's Element, was an ultra marathoner, and he got on keto because he could burn his body fat as fuel more efficiently. So when he went on long runs, instead of having to goo this do whatever, his body just ate fat. And somebody told me, if you that you have like 15,000 or something calories of body fat reserve. I mean, obviously it's depending on a person's body comp, but when you look at the reservoir of all of the body fat in your body, and it can all burn essentially the same when you're in ketosis compared to how much food you can carry on your person during an ultra, it's just a larger fuel tank. And so by going into ketosis, the body is wanting to break down that fat and convert it over to fuel, because it doesn't have the easy fuel to burn. So it's like sugar is like, when you think about tinder kindling fuel for, the Boy Scouts fire planning, sugars are like tinder and carbs are like kindling, and fat is like fuel. Fat's going to burn for longer, but it takes a lot more to get it to catch or to start processing or whatever. So there is in the comments section, they're talking about sugar to rebalance your blood sugar levels. And I absolutely saw guys go tango uniform, tits up, on road marches, and we thought that they were heat exhausted and but almost like heat stroke level symptoms, like totally out of it, potentially unconscious, whatever. And as soon as we introduced dextrose into their bloodstream, they immediately came out of it and they were lucid again and completely functional again or whatever. And they just had a low blood sugar reaction, like you'll sometimes see with a diabetic that jams insulin and has not eaten. The insulin takes over. They don't have enough sugar, and they end up. I had that happen. I had a female type 1 diabetic in my class in elementary school, and I remember how scary it was that she went into an insulin. I don't want to say coma, but she was like in a like droning out, like tripping out in the class. And it was very scary for me as a young kid or whatever, but they gave her like the orange juice or fed her raisins or whatever and got her some blood sugar back. And she came right back around, but she had just taken, not too much insulin, but the right insulin dose without a proper feeding or whatever. So you need to have some of those sugars on board unless you're doing a ketosis diet. The simple sugars are a simple fix. They're not a long-term solution. You've got to have more complex carbs on board that will burn slower. Because if you try to keep a fire going with sheets of paper, you're never going to get to relax at the campsite. You're going to be feeding tinder into the fire all the time, just constant bam, 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 bam. That's why Trail Mix has got your nuts and your other stuff in there in addition to your M&Ms. You would just eat sun-dried apricots and pineapple wedges and M&Ms and be on a sugar high for the entire hike if that's what was optimal. You got to have other stuff in the Trail Mix that is this combination of simple sugars, burn them now, proteins and stuff to get broken down, and fats to get broken down and keep you planed out over the long haul. Hydration volume is extremely important. But if you overhydrate, you can piss all your electrolytes out. So guys that are drinking like a gallon of water or more an hour with no electrolyte salts in there, no even just a sprinkle of Gatorade or whatever inside of that, if they're just pounding straight water, straight water, straight water, straight water, and I mean a lot of it, they will actually be peeing clear, and they're pissing out all their electrolytes, and so they've got a salt and sugar imbalance going on as well because they did not do any type of ratio of cut down Gatorade or in Durox or one of those other electrolytes, or taking the electrolyte tablets are capsules that I had talked about. If they're putting electrolytes in their body with a high fluid intake, that's a good recipe for combating the effects of high humidity. Because the more humid it is, the harder that you have a time regulating your cooling. And so you're just going to keep sweating, keep sweating, and keep sweating, and keep sweating, and keep sweating, but you're not getting any evaporation. So you're not getting the cooling effects. The sweating isn't doing its job in regulating core temp. You can still sweat a lot in dry heat, but it's evaporating so fast, you're losing your indicators. All of the dried salts on your clothes in a lower humidity environment are indicators that you are also sweating out your electrolytes and losing lots of fluids. You're just not carrying the fluids saturated in your shirt because the humidity won't allow them to evaporate. You're much more in tune to the volume of sweat that you're putting out when you're in a high humidity environment, because it's rolling in your eyes and you're soaking wet, and it's a constant reminder. I am soaking wet. All of this liquid used to be inside of me, and it's not. I need to take in more liquid. Whereas like in a desert, you just get dry mouth. And you're not getting the indicators other than dry mouth or a desire, a thirst desire. Those are your first symptoms. And if you're feeling thirsty, you're already behind the hydration power curve. So dry mouth, salt crystals on your clothing, and then lastly, a desire for thirst. Those are your indicators that you need to be jamming some fluid intake in those dry, arid, high desert types of environments. So I would take hydration over eating in a high risk environment. So step first and foremost, fluid intake, followed closely thereafter by electrolyte replacement, followed by proper fuel, simple sugars, and then complex carbs / fats. That's the priority of work, in my opinion. If you eat and don't have fluids, then your body actually takes fluids to digest the stuff that you have in there. So if you don't have a lot of liquid, having liquid with the nutrients in it is going to be better for you in the short term than taking in a lot of solid food, especially foods like grains and rice and bread and things like that are going to rob liquid out of your digestive tract, which then has to be, now your digestive tract is fighting for the available volume on board, and your sweat glands are fighting for the available volume on board. And so now you have double the load. Keeping in mind, this is Holiday Inn Express crap. I am not a medical professional, but I have been a heat casualty, and I've been a heat casualty due to lack of electrolytes and lack of fuel replacement, causing me to have to work harder and keep my heart rate at an elevated level because it was lacking volume, and because I'm working harder because my muscles are working harder because they were not fueled. And so it was the increased exertion and higher heart rate that led to the core temperature issues, not just my body's inability to cool itself. If I had been properly fed and fully hydrated, the heat exhaustion or my body's ability to cool itself would not have been as much of a factor. So heat, high humidity, long endurance type of event, minimal electrolyte and fuel replacement, all of those coalescing together created the heat exhaustion, not just it being hot outside. What are you guys saying over here? No, I'm not saying that wheat snack bread is bad. I'm saying wheat snack bread, when you only have a 13.1 ounce disposable water bottle from a Circle K in your cargo pocket, and you have 25 miles to walk in the woods, then maybe that wheat bread ain't doing you no good, or it's detracting from your hydration deficit. You need fluid. You need fluid in the circulatory system to move the oxygenated blood around and do all that stuff. And you need the fluid to be able to sweat and cool your body. And so if you've got to maintain volume internally in your circulatory system, and you have to sweat to maintain coolness, then perhaps taking in calories that aren't going to suck fluid into your digestive tract, maybe those would be better in that type of situation. Or you could just carry a Sawyer Mini and screw it onto your 13.1 ounce disposable water bottle and not be liquid deficient in the first place. Take in more fluid with the bread, and now you are up here. You've got a little bit of fuel in the tank. You got some electrolyte replacement, and you're getting the fluid volume internally. So just plan for that. Josh says, thanks for doing these. Talk to you about Antifa assault teams using night vision. Never be able to afford night vision. Wondering about the effects of high-powered flashlights to somebody under NODS. Blindness, disorientation, or a slight pause to take off goggles. I'm not taking off my goggles. That's like some Patriot Games, Hollywood bullcrap. And yes, you could white out older nods, newer night vision with auto gating capability or whatever. They're not going to be as affected by that. That being said, yes, photonic barriers are a thing. When we had older generation night vision, the OP4 at the Joint Readiness Training Center, they all carried big, like 6D cell mag lights hose clamped to their M16s because they weren't allowed to have night vision until they captured them from us. So if they killed a good guy and we were not able to get that good guy's body back immediately, if the OP4 like were owning that position where the dead Americans were, they could call over a referee and be like, I want to steal that guy's sevens. And they would write him a receipt or whatever saying captured document, captured night vision. And then administratively, the OP4 unit would bring out a set of sevens for that guy. So we weren't actually exchanging captured equipment because of the whole sensitive items accountability thing. So by night 3 or night 4 of the battle against the insurgents, most of them had captured night vision. But in the beginning nights of the rotation, they did not. And they would approach us in the dark. And if we saw them first and engaged them, then they would start spotlighting muzzle flashes. And they were lighting us up with flashlights to be able to target, not target, discriminate, but to be able to provide an aiming reference for their optic to place accurate miles laser fire against us. It had the added benefit of making our ability to target acquire them more difficult because we were having to shield the nods, do whatever, and the older night vision were much more susceptible to getting bloomed out and things like that. So in a real world environment, if you hit me with a flashlight, I would hit you with a high-powered IR illuminator and throw more photons your way than you're throwing my way, and I would be able to see the outline of your body from behind your flashlight pattern on your weapons-mounted light, and then place my IR pointer on the contrast of your body in my IR energy and still achieve a hit. It would not be optimal. Would I rather shoot somebody that is not shining a flashlight on my face? Absolutely. If it's all you got, then potentially there's some value added there. But anybody that is properly trained in the use of night vision is going to be able to fight through that photonic barrier and still place accurate fires on you, unless you place accurate fires on them first. Mondo, do you believe there's a difference between an instructor, a teacher, and a coach in regards to training industry? Marketing terms, man. Marketing terms. There are guys, all of us, we're all trying to separate ourselves from the pack. This is why you need to spend money and come to my class. Because I'm the only one that's going to hold you to an acceptable standard of marksmanship so that you could deliver a no-fail shot and not go to litigation in the streets, right? That's my marketing spiel. It happens to be true. But that's, I am trying to convince you. Like, again, we talked about this, maybe it was on here, maybe it was somewhere else. We are all fighting for your hearts and minds, your dollars. Bill Blowers is my adversary in this fight. William Petty is my adversary in this fight. Whether they know it or not, or will admit it or not, I have friends, personal friends, that I am competing against professionally in this space of shooting instructor. And Bill is of the opinion that there are so many of y'all paying students out there that it is not an adversarial situation. There's so many students out there and so much money out there that me having students in my class is not taking money off your table. I have seen student enrollment numbers that do not support that. And then the argument is, well, if you had a better product, more people would go to your class, kind of thing. So we can argue about the chicken or the egg all you want to. But at the end of the day, all of the jokes and all of the social media, for as funny as they are, talking about, Blowers is on vacation right now in Jamaica. And he says, yeah, they say there's no guns on this island. I beg to differ. And it shows a picture of dumbbells in the gym. So Bill is saying that he's getting his massive forearms and biceps even larger. Hence the gun show, hence the gun argument, and Jamaica being a gun-free island. Ha ha ha! It's a funny joke. Bullshit. That is Bill Blowers telling y'all that he is still a PT stud at 50 years of age. And if you're a young SWAT man and you want to be like Bill Blowers, that you need to do PT. And if you respect someone that is, if you respect people that are physically fit, that you need to give Bill Blowers your money because he's still physically fit. That is an absolute marketing strategy and also funny as shit. So there are some of the instructors that are saying marketing they're using the word marketing like it's an evil word. At the end of the day, we all have to convey to you guys why you should pay money to come to our class. And those of us that do it better are getting more of y'all's money. And those of us that have failed to do so are getting less of your money. Regardless of the actual content on the range. I'm telling y'all that some of the most successful people in this industry are not putting out some of the best product. As far as at the end of the day, if you go through 10 classes and Viewers' Choice Awards, you guys say, man, that was the best class I took this year. That dude may or may not be the dude getting paid the most this year. And somebody else, you might be, I was producing class, but I only took away a couple of things that are going to be pertinent or help me as an individual in my professional growth. That dude might be the most paid guy, or whatever. So Chappie talked about, in a words mean stuff context, instructors, teachers, coaches. And I get it. But to me, it's kind of like saying muscle memory or something else. Like it is bringing attention to a verbiage thing to try to separate oneself. Like, yeah, man, there's a lot of instructors out there, meaning guys that are executing a POI, and they're not a whole lot more than just an RSO going down a checklist of drills. Whereas your teachers are the ones that are imparting the knowledge, they're telling you the whys, et cetera, et cetera. They're giving you knowledge, and they're potentially, helping you out. And coaches, this is kind of my definition or my, what I think word association wise. And then your coaches are more a lot of your like human performance guys. So your dudes that are watching you, seeing what you're doing and trying to change. Like if a dude is physically putting his hands on you, trying to get you to do something different or whatever, or clean you up, that's coaching. That is one-on-one coaching. They're looking at you. Nope, don't do that. Do this other thing. You're wasting time here. Do this other. And so there's a lot of human performance, body mechanics, man-machine interface, dare I say, gun handling aspects of the overall shooting piece. That's where coaching kind of comes in. If I had to self-identify as one of those three, I would say teacher, because there's a lot of information that is being kind of imparted. Not as much me trying to make you shoot in the same style that I shoot because it works for me, and saying, I shoot like this and this is what I do. So you need to mimic me and then you'll be able to shoot like me or do whatever like me or whatever. So I think there's some marketing phraseology that's going on there, but not necessarily in a bad way. Make sense? People are not randomly getting, I would not have a Press Check Consulting Facebook page if I wasn't trying to attract students. I wouldn't. It's a necessary evil. There's things that I will not do to attract students. And there are things that other people are doing to attract students. And so I cannot gauge my success based off student enrollment numbers if I'm comparing myself to somebody that's doing shit I'm not willing to do, because it's apples and oranges. They're willing to do this and they're getting this benefit. I'm only willing to do this and I'm getting this other benefit. Oh, this guy's more successful than me. Like money in the checking account, factually accurate. But until I'm willing to do what that other guy's doing, I can't necessarily compare bank accounts because I'm not putting forth the same effort for a variety of reasons. It could be laziness. It could be ethical. Like, nah, man, I'm not going to do that. Ethically, that compromises something in my value system to self-promote the way this other person is promoting, so I won't do that. Well, then I probably need to shut the hell up about how they're making more money than me, because their moral compass says that whatever they're doing is fine. If they weren't okay with it, they wouldn't be doing it. And they're getting a financial benefit from that. They're reaching people, good, bad, or indifferent. They're reaching people with what they are comfortable of doing in terms of self-promotion. And my blood pressure's gone way down since I came to that realization. Stop judging student enrollment numbers and the amount of money another instructor's making as that dude's a better instructor than me. That dude's putting out a better product than me. That dude is running a business better than me. There's a difference. There's an absolute difference. And I'm okay with some of my colleagues being better businessmen than I am. I'm okay with that. Because I'm taking care of my family and I'm reasonably happy. So yeah, man, I want a big, huge pimp retirement mansion and log cabin thing. I'm going to need to pay for that. So I'm going to need to up my game, but my game is still ascending properly and at a rate that I'm comfortable with. I only have 2 no-fail pistols on the books for the fall, and they're both sold out. That's saying that the plan is moving along. The students are getting the word out. This viral social media stuff is working. Stick to the message. Let my guns, let my students do the talking for me. It's working. The word is getting out. Agencies are calling me. I'm being contacted by people that had not previously expressed an interest in my product. They are now interested in my product. I have not changed my social media or my marketing significantly. So it is you guys that are getting the word out. The more people that come to no fail, the more people that are out there spreading the word about no fail. So it becomes kind of a snowball effect. And if I wasn't out there, if I wasn't willing to go out there and toot my own horn ad nauseum, then I had to wait and be patient until enough guys went through the program to carry the message. And that's happening now. So, that's what's up. Yes, Kyle, no fail pistol trigger time is full. And there's a standby. I've got a phone con tomorrow with a host in the New England area. I have not previously been able to find any hosts / ranges that were locked in. And I'm having a phone con tomorrow about a closed enrollment LE no fail in New York State, and then a Pennsylvania and or Mass no fail that will be open enrollment. I don't know how soon that guy can get me in there. And we're talking fall / early winter, which means weather's going to be a factor. That New England no fail stuff might not happen in the spring. I might just have a really crappy winter because I didn't get on the course dates soon enough. We'll see. We'll see what turns out from tomorrow's conversation, guys. Okay. Dan Arnold, seems like some U.S. Special Operations Forces struggled with finding a pistol that would give the accuracy and trigger demand needed by some missions and the high capacity. Did soft units ever seriously look at the Browning high power as a good compromise? And it was popular with Vietnam era guys wondering more about the 80s to present. No, Browning high power is a double action, single action gun. And DASA pistols are extremely hard to shoot. Extremely hard to shoot. Some Australian soft guys had DASA guns. Some British soft guys had DASA guns. Some Canadian soft guys had DASA guns. And I beat all their asses on the range. Their guns were just mechanically harder to shoot. And so because of how hard their pistol was to shoot, there was an increased level of mediocrity. I saw it in a federal agency as well that had a firearm that was very, very hard to shoot. They struggled with their pistol because they didn't have the time actually working to invest tens of thousands of rounds per guy and hours and hours a week to be able to master DASA. They're hard guns to shoot, guys. That being said, I've had somebody take high shooter at no fail with a Langdon Beretta. You can absolutely shoot them. They're just more unforgiving. When you check out during the act of firing, when you check out and kind of go on autopilot, the gun's going to take you for a run, man. The second you don't respect it while you're shooting it, the gun's taking you for a ride. Pooty. Was there anyone in soft that had an oddball religion like Wiccan or Sikh? Yes. Yeah, I've seen some whatever. Were there any unlikely background stories? Amish, hippies? Yes. Two mommies? Yes. Actually, I don't know about the two mommies. Escaped from North Korea or Eastern Europe. Yes, not North Korea, but Eastern Europe. I don't know if I've ever served with an Amish guy. My first IPA was when I was doing a DARPA science project at Stanford. And I was a human guinea pig at their bioscience lab. And I was with a Green Beret who grew up in a hippie commune in the Redwoods. And so we went back to his like trailer park in the trees thing, jumped in the rental car and drove to the coast and went up into the Redwoods there, west of Stanford University up to the coast. And there was a bar at the base of a redwood tree at a fork in the road, old rickety wooden shack. And he went in there and he's like, hey, get this guy a Sierra Nevada. I'm like, what the hell is a Sierra Nevada? He's like, it's an IPA. What the hell's an IPA? He's like, it's a really bitter beer that's going to get you fucked up. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, God, this tastes terrible. And then, like, it hit me, and I've been drinking, Deep South piss water my whole life. And I was like, wow, IPA is good. I like IPA. And then we went up, like, drove up, and he's like, yeah, this is where my school bus used to pick me up. And then, like, we went in the switchback, and there were these old trailers all covered in moss and stuff, looked like a hobbit village where the hippies just all lived up in there. Yeah, dude had grown up in a hippie commune in the trees. There was a Wiccan church meeting on Liberty Base in Iraq, and they had orgies, like straight up, like got together. This is the Wiccan meeting. All non-Wiccans get out of there, and they had some group fucking going on. I only know this because I had a female IT specialist at one of the things, Wiccan, and she was going there and just getting fucking pounded during church service. I mean, good for her, I guess. Cole Johnson. Favorite close air support platforms? All of them? Nah. Obviously, the A10 is a very, very responsive cast platform. Its ability to do turns, it has a tighter turning radius than the F16 did. It's got a tighter turning radius than the F15 and some of these other fast movers that were being brought into the ground support, a ground attack role. Just because you're a strike aircraft and you can do air to ground, that doesn't mean that you're a CAS platform. So the new prop planes, the Sky Tractors and Super Tucanos and all those, an homage to the old Sandys of Nam. They're pretty cool, but all of your fixed wing is going to pale in comparison to the responsiveness of rotary wing. They're going to bring higher ordnance. They're potentially going to bring a longer station time, but that they're not going to be as responsive, and they're not going to be as responsive to the end user on the ground as a good attack helicopter is. The Little Bird obviously is probably, pound for pound, the finest, most responsive gunship that's ever existed. AC-130 is cool, but it's a different flavor. The standoff, the minimum distances that you could call in fire are greater. So it's the AC-130 is better for keeping you from being overrun. It can do a high volume of fire, has a very long station time, has sensors that allow them to see the enemy further out, things like that. So if you've got a battalion coming to push you off of your little hilltop, the AC-130 is going to deliver a higher volume of precise fires to keep them from getting to belt buckle distance with you. Once you're at belt buckle distance to the bad guys, you got to have helicopter gunships because they're going to be able to get in there, get lower, separate friend from foe, and their surface danger areas are normally less gunship dependent. But I mean, I know dudes that have called rockets and guns on positions that were across the street from the house they were in. So we're talking 25, 30 yards away with really steep attack angles, firing machine gun and rockets into adjacent structures to where the good guys were at. Very, very hard to get an AC-130 in that close to friendly troops. Fast movers, forget about it. There's no way. Not even an A-10. Not an A-10 pilot in the world that's going to fire 30 millimeter cannons from the GAU-8 at a house across the street from you. Nope, not going to happen. David is asking, I have a family friend who just joined the Army, wants to be a Green Beret. I was not a Green Beret. We're going to kick that can down the road till Tom gets back in here. Jay, shooting under nods. You have to shoot under nods using your primary optic. You can't use your laser for whatever reason. Can you do it with an illuminated reticle ACOG or a low power variable optic, or is preferred to do an RDS? Low power variable optics are hard. They are not really night vision capable, and how they capture and transmit light through them because of the increased lenses gives you you're losing photons in that process. So what I'm saying is your night vision goggles can see a bad guy and his contrast to the background at, say, 100 yards. You need to engage him passively. When you shoulder your rifle, first off, getting your night vision directly lined up behind LPVOs that traditionally have less forgiving eye relief and eye boxes, that makes its own set of problems because you're adjusting for eye relief and eye box with a tube stuck to the front of your face. You're trying to line up two tubes in complete darkness. So you get a lot more scope shadow trying to figure it out. But even if you can get everything lined up, the light transmission isn't as good, and you potentially lose the contrast in your field of view. Like, darn it, that bad guy was over there somewhere in the rocks. I can't see him now. Lower your rifle. Oh, there he is. Raise your rifle. Can't see him. Lower your rifle. There he is. Raise your rifle. Can't see him. That problem is made worse by lack of daylight settings. So in darker environments, the illuminated reticle / RDS bloom out badly. So you've got this burning beacon, which creates photonic barrier in your nods, and then you can't see what's downrange. So LPVOs are not optimal for night fighting. Not optimal at all. I haven't had an LPVO on a single night fighting gun because they're just very, very hard. Can I do a quick kill? Like, snapshot, bind an aiming concept, whatever you want. Like, get behind it, get a reticle, and then see the bad guy in the other tube and kind of superimpose the two for a quick shot? Yes. Normally pay for it in some type of lateral offset. So absolutely can't take a low percentage shot using that type of alternate or passive engagement technique. Like it or hate it, but the EOTech probably has the best night vision capability of any modern optical sight because it has a night vision button. It toggles between the night mode and the daylight mode. There's 20 daylight setting, 10 nighttime settings on the EOTech. So you can toggle in real time with a single push of a button. You can toggle between, daylight setting 17 and night vision setting 4. Whereas with a micro, you've got position 1 night vision, position 2 night vision, and then 3, 4, 5 up in the daylight setting. So if you want to go from daylight 20 to night vision 2, you've got to roll it back and then roll it all the way back forward again when you're done. And so there's way more messing with your weapon mechanically. Whereas with the EOTech, you just hit the button and bam, it happens. DB Cooper asks about the Gen 5 MOS gun. As you guys know, till I put red Vibratite on there and let that stuff cure, I can't advocate the MOS. I can't say not to use the MOS. There are plenty of people on the internet. Excuse me. There are plenty of people on the internet that are using the P1 pistol optic with the MOS platform, and they're not getting killed in the streets yet. Oh, Charles Constantine said he's going to use his question to wish everybody a happy birthday or a happy and healthy 4th of July and thank me for my time. Well, thank you for being a supporter, buddy. I missed you guys. Missed you guys a lot. June was a long month to not be on here from the beginning of the month until the end. Only getting one good Q&A in the month of June. All right. $1 patrons. We're in the final stretch, guys. By final stretch, I mean 28 more damn questions. But okay. Ryan S. Nice, honest opinion on the Night Fighter after running it for a little while. Edit. Also, what have you experienced in terms of differences between the Nighthawk and the Night Fighter? As a regular guy making cop beat money, would you see enough to qualify a $2,000 difference in price tag? So, brother, I had not messed with any of STI's new shit. I had a Wilson, had problems with it. 1911, not 2011. STIs, never seen an STI that came from STI that ran. This is all prior to their reorganization. And that's why I think we're kind of at a very interesting time especially with this pistol, the 2011 platform. STI, in terms of numbers, is going to flood the market with their new line of pistols, learning from the mistakes that they made before. And so they are kind of leading the charge on a revitalized idea of the 2011, extending the service life of the 1911 design much further into this century. You know what the internet thinks. Boomer gun. And you don't need all that. You know, some young, jacked, paleo diet, CrossFit, lumberjack looking hipster is absolutely against the very thought of carrying a pistol like this. I will tell you that this Shadowhawk surprised the hell out of me with its just boring reliability. I secretly thought that I was going to have to constantly stay on top of this gun. And it's done pretty damn good. Magazines, still an issue. The new STI mags, way better than the old STI mags. Not perfect. These guns are not, and it's not these guns. 2011 mags are never, ever, 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 ever going to be 100% lock back reliable. That's not true. Never, 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 never. But I've seen nothing from the market that shows duty level, consistency in lockback reliability over the long haul. They all work great coming out of the package, but mags get dirty, followers get worn, springs get compressed, guns get dirty, and you start getting a little bang, bang, bang click. Now, that being said, man, you know how many dudes I've seen riding their slide stop on their Glock in no fail class? There's absolutely more dudes going bang, 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 click, bang, 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 bang with Glocks in my classes than my 2011's not locking back during a demo. Like on a factor of like 10 to 1. So I don't feel as bad. But because these guns are basically getting like fat shamed or whatever, like, you know, like it's cool to talk shit about these guns. These guns have to be perfect. I mean, they are $4,000 pistols, but they have to be perfect. If they have one hiccup in a 2-day class, that's all anybody remembers. The 1911 guy's gun fucking had a failure to feed or whatever. That guy's 1911 wouldn't lock back on the last mag on several magazines. And I've seen a clown show of Glock malfunctions also. Glock magazine malfunctions, both factory and aftermarket. That's all a thing. It's all a thing. So, I am so glad that I got this gun because it showed me the art of the possible so that I could get this gun. Is this gun worth $2,000 more than that gun? If we had to say this actual gun and this gun, I would say probably not. But I know who makes every one of these. The Chambers guns, or excuse me, the Nighthawk guns are made by a series of gunsmiths, and I don't know where they're at on QC and whatever. So I can only speak to the Nighthawk that I have, or the two, and they're both running. But Wilson is charging the same amount as Nighthawk is, and I had a Wilson that did not run well. Larry Vickers had to rebuild it. So there's a tremendous amount of variable. If I say get a Nighthawk, I'm sure y'all, the internet, somebody can find somebody that owns a Nighthawk that ain't running. That ain't running. If we find a Chambers gun that ain't running, it's because they haven't told Joe about that. Because Joe will not allow a gun that he built to not run. He will be on the phone with the person that is experiencing a problem if one were to manifest itself, and they're gonna sort that out. He just won't, because his name is attached to it. he is not going to allow a lemon to be out in the field. He's going to pull that gun back because his reputation's on the line. If there's some anomalous crap going on, he is going to diagnose that gun with that dude's ammo and the magazines and whatever, and he is going to get to the bottom of what is going on if that's an issue, you know. So yeah, bottom line is, Ryan, you know, can I tell you that you should not buy a Jared Reston regulator pistol and you should get a Nighthawk Shadowhawk instead? I wouldn't on a beat cop salary. I wouldn't get into that. I wouldn't get into that 2011 world anyway, because that's a rich lifestyle. My mags are $150 each, man. You know, I'm carrying a Glock's worth of reloads on my belt. And I don't know. AT, how much these steel frame Walthers? I don't even know. But that gun, this gun can do 90%, 95% of what a high-end 2011 can do. There's some personal preference stuff that I like with the single action trigger over this. Even though this is a great trigger, there's still, I'm like, look at all that. That's a lot of damn pre-travel. That's a lot of time for me to go. Now, once you get to the end of it, there's not a huge wall for me to go, I mean, once I get it to the end and I'm stacked on the wall, that gun's breaking easy. You get a pimped out Glock for $2,000. I mean, totally pimped out Glock for $2,000. High-end CZ. So there's a lot of options out there. Your shooting performance has got to be way high before I think you should be jumping into the deep end of the pool financially for that last 1% of man-machine interface. But that last 1% is there. I'm sorry, that freaking Night Fighter. Holy shit, that gun is accurate. And it runs, and the trigger breaks, and I have less flinchies, and it's just so easy to shoot. That is a forgiving gun to shoot. Am I buying performance? Yup, absolutely. Okay. In the class, long shots are discussed as being deadly and eventually and not relevant to gunfight. What specifically is that specifically for handgun rounds? Do higher velocities impart enough hydrostatic shock to surrounding tissue to widen the target area for effective hits? In my experience, no, they do not. In the head, yes. You can shoot somebody in the head with a pistol and not create enough hydrostatic shock in this frontal and upper lobe area away from the cerebellum and the medulla that they'll survive. We've all heard stories or seen stories of people shot in the head with handgun rounds. If you hit somebody square on the head with a high velocity rifle round, normally the hydrostatic shock is going to crack their crack their skull open like an egg, and you're going to get massive damage to the brain from the hydrostatic shock of the high velocity rifle cartridge. So yeah, rifle rounds to the head are generally good deal. If you can get through the eggshell, if you can get through the skull and transfer that energy into the brain matter, because of the amount of fluid up there and the fact there's no malleable tissue to expand, it just head comes apart. But like near misses and lung shots with rifles, I have not seen. Now, what you're going to see in terms of increased from a legal, like a law enforcement use of force, you're going to see increased compliance, meaning forfeiture. More people are going to quit gunfights after being shot with rifles, because I believe that the energy transfer of the high velocity projectiles is giving them more indicator lights in their brain that they got tuned up. That boom, and the reverberation of the fluid displacement and temporary wound cavity and everything of getting tuned up with a rifle, I think is giving the guy's brain more time to think about, or more to think about in terms of, dude, I'm getting filled in right now. I should probably look at jacking it in and quitting. And that's why you see people getting hit with rifles and dumping faster. I think there's just more input to their brain that they're getting tuned up, and they are making the decision. Physiologically, I don't think. Now, what you end up getting with rifles a lot of times is divergent wound track. So you've got your slug and then multiple divergent pieces of jacket and stuff like that, potentially secondary fragmentation from busted bone, smashing through rib and things like that. And so those things are making cuts, potentially nicking arteries, perforating ventricles of the heart, things like that. So near misses can have physiological impact on your desired impact area, even if your main bullet weight, your main slug does not find its mark. You could get lucky and get a good solid divergent wound track that blows the ventricle of the heart, and now the heart's pumping on 3 cylinders and there's blood seeping out. It's just not going in at the speed. It's not leaking out at the speed that a complete slug perforation of the heart would have, because it's a smaller tear, smaller hole. I have not cracked a lot of people's chests open and done post forensic analysis of their bodies, but that is my hypothesis based on watching their reaction to human behavior. Bill Plunkett, bulk ammo purchases. How many thousands of rounds qualify for discount? It's a lot. Like even at 10,000, you're not getting a good price break. Buy in cases of 1,000. That's like your first, or that's your like best price jump. From like individual box up to 500 is one price. Your 1,000 round case price is going to be better usually than your individual boxes of 50 price. But the difference between buying one case of 1,000 and 8 or 9 cases of 1,000, I don't think is any different. I think you've got to go over a 10,000 round threshold to see your next price jump, and that's vendor by vendor. Domingo Chavez, not your real name. What's your opinion on functional physical fitness? I wish I could do it. For regular infantry, concentrating on muscle building versus concentrating on cardio. What do I think is the appropriate balance? Strength to weight ratio is the buzzword of the day for the Chuckster. Tom, and he used to be bigger, but not that much bigger. When you start doing strength training, like your Olympic lifts and stuff like that, you will normally see when you're doing isolated lifting. Sorry, Olympic lifting is a bunch of different shit. I'm not talking about cleans and things like that. I'm talking about isolated movement, like just a straight up deadlift, or just a bench press, or just a lat pull. When you're doing the isolated bodybuilding style weightlifting for your strength training, that's where you start to see physical mass growing. And even if it's lean muscle mass, it's still weight. You have to be able to push and pull your weight. So the guys that succeed in CrossFit are people that have a good strength to weight ratio. You want to be as strong AF as you can be at the least amount of pounds. A dude that can deadlift and bench the same at 190-pound individual is more functionally fit than a dude that can bench press the same and who is a 225-pound individual. The 190-pound guy has him by 30 pounds. That's a plate carrier where I come from, like fully loaded plate carrier. So the 190-pound guy can put on all of his crap and he's just as strong as the 230-pound guy. So fully kitted up, he is now equal to the other guy slick in terms of strength and everything else. Now the 230-pound guy has to put on kit, and he becomes the 260-pound guy. So those knuckleheads were doing the same amount of reps at 190, 230. Just the math doesn't add up. We start incorporating obstacle courses and high intensity cardio. Lighter is better. So very lean looking dudes that can do a lot of body weight work and a lot of CrossFit style weight training. Those guys with superior strength to weight ratio, those are your best athletic style performers. When you take training in the gym and then go out and replicate it to actually working in the environment. If you're too skinny, you can't handle the increased load when you start getting very, heavy up there. So if you're a 150-pound wet noodle, even if you could do 20 pull-ups, if adding 60 pounds onto your 150 frame means you can't do any pull-ups, then that's bad. And the bigger guys, not like bigger like super bulky, but I'm saying the lean dudes that have a few pounds more muscle mass on them seem to be able to do better when it comes to carrying heavy loads than the skinny guys that are only about functional fitness. That's just kind of been my opinion. You never saw 220 guys, even really, really in shape, like football player dudes. You didn't see them setting records on the obstacle course or winning the, PT competitions or whatever. It was always the like totally ripped 175, 185 pound guys. They were the ones that were just crushing it. Best hollow sun option. I don't know, man. I don't have a single Holosun. Also, Mod 1 light option for an 11.5 and a 14.5. I like the Surefire Scout, man. The U-boat, the dual fuel is good. But if you've got an old U-boat, man, one of the 600 lumen ones or whatever, those things are still great. I'm not going to kick any of those flashlights out. Anything 500 plus on lumens, and you're really starting to split hairs. So, yeah, I'm not going to rush out, sell all my old 600 U-boats just to replace them with, whatever, the next fancy sauce. And the only time the flashlight stuff becomes a variable for me is overall system weight. If I've got something like a battle rifle, I might not put a 2-cell flashlight on that battle rifle. I might do a single cell because I'm not spotlighting people with that sniper system anyway. So just save a little bit of weight. Stan says, hey, Chuck, happy Independence Day. Gen 314, bought it from TNVC. And it needs work. Is there another option for repairs other than TNVC that you would recommend? You can contact Sam directly on Facebook Messenger, Sam Houston, and see if he's currently doing any night vision services. Will Long from Night Long Industries might be able to do some servicing on your stuff as well. JD Brock, briefly discuss lock times between striker-fired DASA or SA-only pistols. Not sure what you mean by lock time. My point about those three platforms and the time is the trigger press time. So a single action only pistol is more forgiving in that it has sorry guys, microphone not cooperating. Okay. It has a very, very small, you guys hear it? Very, very small amount of pre-travel and a very clean and light wall. Y'all probably couldn't even see my finger movement. So if I come from all the way off this thing and decide I need to make it go bang, it goes bang sooner. If I take a striker fired gun and I have to make it go bang, there's more movement, physical movement of my finger. And it is this feeling of the trigger shoe on my finger that makes my mind go crazy knowing that this gun's about to go bang. So when my finger makes contact with the trigger and I'm like, I'm squeezing through this. I'm pulling this all the way to the rear. This shit is happening. When my finger makes contact with that thing and I start squeezing it, that's when the brain's like, here we go. And I do that. The amount of distance, physical distance that the finger has to go to make the striker go off means that it is going to go off later. It's going to go off later than the 2011. And all of those milliseconds or whatever the lag is, once my brain has decided the gig is up, in slow motion. 1911, this is going to go off. See the difference? The wrist is moving the gun aggressively in an anti-recoil anticipation flinch manner. How soon the bullet gets out of this, it eliminates, once it leaves the barrel, it eliminates the divergent track away from the X-ring. So the longer it takes for you to activate the primer and get the barrel out of this son of a bitch, the further off of X the gun is pointing when the bullet departs on its tangent. It's geometry. It's simple geometry. People that don't have the flinchies are in denial about catalyst input that causes the flinchies for people that do have the flinchies. So it's people lecturing about an affliction that they don't have. How so? I'm sorry. I don't buy into an instructor that does not have the flinchies trying to lecture a student on what they should or should not be doing, unless it is, this is what I do so that I don't flinch. That instructor does have the flinchies. They just have a coping strategy for it. So when you get into support hand grip, you're countering that movement. And that's why you can do things like be really aggressive on the trigger. And if you're being really aggressive on the trigger and it starts moving the gun off of the X-ring, the counter force of your aggressive support hand grip is pushing it back up into the X-ring. Like, where are you going? You ain't going nowhere, buddy. I got you locked in like a vice. And so the support grip is countering for your recoil anticipation break into the wrist with your firing hand. But if I go weak hand only, there ain't no support grip. And as soon as my brain catches on to the game, it's going to start breaking the wrist. Go back and watch the Suicide by Cop video. Slow that shit down and watch when that guy makes the decision to go hot and he starts firing, pow, 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 pow. Watch the timing of his shots and what he is doing to the gun pre-ignition. Watch it. And they're not all the same. Every round is not affected the same way by his influence on the gun. Go back and watch that. Slow motion. So, some of these actions are more forgiving than others. They provide less tactile input. They have less total travel. And the gun goes bang sooner once you go, and you start moving the firearm. Yeah. Okay, lock time. Time from the sear release until the firing pin hit. I don't know. That's that. Now you're talking about the human has inputted everything, and now it is the mechanical time of the gun. So we're talking released of stage striker spring compressed and striker going forward versus hammer hitting firing pin going forward. Like that's all technical gun stuff. But it is the movement of your body prior to disengagement of the sear. I hypothesize is a longer time than any of the distances between those different operating systems. That's just my opinion. The mechanical time for the gun to actually hit it after the sear has cleared it hot, I think is not as much of a factor in terms of weapon movement as everything you're doing to stage the gun to sear release. Chuck's opinion, stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Mate, I'm going to be shooting the President's 100 pistol match in a couple of weeks. Have fun with that. Never shot a match this size before, and the jitters are getting you like crazy. Why? Why? Nobody's expecting you to win. Just go there and enjoy the experience. Get some reps in. Do whatever. Like, you have to convince yourself that you're not there to win. That's not a cop-out. That doesn't mean you just go there and F off. But you're tricking your brain into thinking that it's not as big of a deal as it really is. Be like, whatever, I'm shooting a match, whatever. You got to stay focused on the task at hand, like you're saying. So for slow fire, that's not 10 shots. Slow fire, B8s, 100 points. That's not a 10-shot drill, bro. That is a one-shot evolution that happens to be scored on the same sheet of paper, and you're doing it 10 times. So every round is its own iteration. So, shot that out in the 6. Oh, okay. You failed the 4th iteration of your 10 iterations of one-shot slow fires. That should have no bearing on iteration 5 or iteration 6 or iteration 7, because every one is its own separate training evolution. It's the best shot you've ever delivered in your entire life. One. And then after you're done, recover yourself, woosah, and then get back and do the best shot of your life again. And then recover, relax. That's why on the bullseye thing, they've got the tables and they're setting the gun down. You won't see in slow fire, pew, 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 because that's 3 shots. That ain't a one-shot drill. That was 3 shots. Every single time they fire the weapon. Because the amount of mental focus and physically firing micro muscles, like everything, you're firing everything in your body. You're tightening your core. the muscles in your ankles. You're tightening everything. Like I said before, maybe on here, maybe not. Imagine the satellite in orbit in space and it has the little retro rockets and it's trying to get geosynchronous or whatever. And it's doing, and then it starts going with the retro rockets. Every muscle in your body is firing against the wobble zone of your gun in real time. Like sights going down left, fire that muscle, fire that muscle. And you are loosening and tightening muscles hundreds of times per second throughout your entire body in an effort to make the gun stop fucking shaking. So when that gun finally goes off, bro, you should feel like you fucking goddamn pulled staff duty all night. Like you should be done. Like, oh my God, that's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That's how you get an X-ring hit with a handgun at 25 fucking yards or 50. If you're not bringing that level, guys, that's why y'all shoot 91s on B8s, because you're not bringing the next level, which is everything. You're leaving it all on the field. So you gotta pick up the pieces of your life after that event. After that bullet goes off, like you're relaxing, there's tension in your neck, in your traps. You've got to bring that gun in and be like, oh my God. You got to breathe. You've got to reoxygenate your eyeballs and the blood and the capillaries of your eyes. You've got to get your heart rate back down. Like that shot sucked. And you got 9 more in this bitch. So you got to start from square one and do it all over again. But the good part of that is if you fuck up, that was a totally different iteration. Even though it's going to be scored on the same sheet of paper, that was a totally different iteration. So you can mentally be like, that was iteration 4. Doesn't matter. This is iteration 5. Boom. All right. Chris, love to hear more about IR illuminators. Have a good understanding of white light, lumens, candela, color temperature. How do you translate that to IR output? 850 versus 950 nanometers. IR illuminators like the Mod Light IR head, vampire stuff, versus laser based like MAL, blah, blah, blah. IR light from LEDs is light. So all of the rules of laser beams versus light in the visual spectrum apply in the IR spectrum. So culminated light, highly culminated light, lasers. Sometimes it's too culminated because it's a point, but we want it to be wider than a point so that we can illuminate crap. So then we split the energy that we culminated in the first place, and we split the diode using a beam splitter, and that's how we get the circular flashlight pattern that's in the pack. That laser energy is going to travel much further before it is diffused. Just like a laser beam is going to travel further than an LED flashlight. LED flashlights, because they are not culminated energy, can be brighter and not cause damage to the human eye. So you can get very, very bright light up close with no eye safety issues using IR LEDs. $850 is further closer to the visual spectrum than 940. So it is more susceptible to be seen by the naked eye. Culminated energy, like lasers, it is very hard to detect them with the naked eye because there isn't splash coming off of them. Flashlights is not just the Cree LED emitter, they have a reflector lamp. So even in the IR spectrum, they're using reflector lamps. So the LED is emitting a light that has some ability to be detected by the human eye. And then it hits a lamp, and the lamp reflects it, and there's spillage. So if somebody has an X400 or an IR headlight on a car or whatever, you're going to be able to see that from further off axis with the naked eye than you are an IR illuminator from a laser device. IR illuminator from a laser device, a split beam or a VCSEL cluster, is the emitters are further back inside of the laser, and they are more tightly focused, and so there's less spillage, and there you would have to get closer to the gun line looking directly at the laser to see any type of visible signature, red glow. 940 emits less of a visual signature, but because it's further away from that spectrum, the near IR spectrum, it's further to the right away from the visual spectrum. Its energy is not efficient for the technology of image intensification devices. So X amount of milliwatts at 850, is going to appear brighter than the same milliwatts of output in 940 to your night vision goggles. They're going to like the energy that is easier to see with the naked eye. It's also easier to see with the nods. You can still detect the energy with your night vision devices further to the right, but you need much more power to get the same benefit, lighting benefit. You need more power. So the laser will appear dimmer. Not laser, but the light. So if you have a 850 LED and a 940 LED, and they're both pushing X amount of milliwatts, you're absolutely going to be able to tell the difference. Anybody can tell the difference. Like, hand them a set of white Foss goggles. Click, turn on that light. Turn it off. Click, turn on that light. Turn it off. They're going to tell you second light was your 940. Like, absolutely 100% of the time, you can tell the difference. We could talk about that more. Somebody asked that we go back and redo a night vision episode or whatever. We need to do that. We could talk about that more, Chris, at another time. Okay, John. Any career regrets, things that I wish I had done differently? Yeah, I wanted to be I would have liked to have gone and been in an 18 Delta. I don't know what I would have given up in order to be able to do that. Because I had a pretty packed career as it was. But that's one of those things of, man, I would have liked to have gone to the Q course. Maybe not served on an ODA necessarily, but I would have liked to have gone to the Q course and become an 18 Delta and gotten Special Forces qualification, Green Beret, whatever you want to call it. Currently a non-combat arms officer and strongly considering getting out to enlist. I know several. I served with several quitters, both in Ranger Regiment, like got branched, became an officer, got sent to the National Guard, and wanted to be active. and terminated their shit. Were like captain in the National Guard, terminated their shit, came into the Army. Good news is that you retire under high 3. So if your O pay is higher than whatever you retired as an NCO, you get your O pay in your retirement. Also, you don't have to go to stupid ass NCO schools. So if you've passed an officer basic course, you essentially will wear an NCO professional development ribbon, 4th award. So you will not have to go to warrior leaders course, advanced leaders course. You don't have to go to none of them bullshit NCO schools. You've already checked that block as an officer. I know SEAL officers that have come back in and been Army enlisted. I've known, a bunch of dudes that have done that. Yeah, you've got a problem because how do you provide for your family? One of the main reasons, other than college being stupid, that I never became an officer is because the job is fucking stupid. Even in special operations, like I'm going to be an 18 Alpha. Okay, you get 24 months on an ODA, and you're done. The rest of your life as a Green Beret officer, what are you doing? Joint Command, Staff Commands, Liaison this, Mill Group that, SF Company Commander. ODAs are decentralized units. What are you're not on target shooting people in the face. Same thing with Infantry Company Commander. You're not on target shooting people in the face. ODA Commander is the last time you get to carry a rifle and kick down a door as an SF officer. Infantry Platoon Leader, I would say, probably shouldn't be kicking down doors, but at least you get to go with the assault element. Company Commander, you're maneuvering platoons. So, that's the thing they don't tell officers about is like, hey, man, your first job is the coolest job you're going to have in the Army. And then everything after that is going to fucking blow. And we're just going to pay you more money and give you more rank for it. So if you're on a power trip and you like being a manager and telling people what to do, then being an officer is cool. But if you want to be with your men, physically leading them, you're done. You're done past 03. You're finished. Can you go out on field trips? Yeah. Yeah, you can go out and fuck with somebody else's life, be like, hey, I'm going to go out on the big mission with you. And it's like, yeah, it's the last thing that lieutenant wanted was an 05 going out there and giving him the hairy eyeball and micromanaging him while he's trying to fight a war, just because that guy wants to feel like he's still in the shit. Yeah, start selling Amway on the side or something. Figure out a way to get some money, and then go do honest man work. Because being an officer ain't fun. It's not fun. Not if you're driven like I was driven. Okay. Joel Crawford, I'm a patrol cop assigned to SWAT for my agency. We're issued and trained heavily with Glocks. Would you advocate jumping into and dabbling in 2011s for competition? No. I stopped. I fought it for a couple of years. I was anti-Glock. And I was forced to shoot them. And I was a 1911 guy. And I shot 2011s all weekend and shot Glocks all week. And my duty workplace shooting fucked up my competition on the weekends, and my competition fucked up my ability to perform on demand with my duty sidearm during the week. I could not handle, and we're talking about at high end of human performance, natural point of aim, and having the sights be where they need to be, checking in with them real quick and sending it is how you get max performance. If you are aiming the gun and then looking for quick sight confirmation and it's not there, and you have to make it do something to get your sights on target, time on the clock, Bubba. Time on the clock. You're burning it. You're burning it. So you either shoot and the gun is not pointed where you thought your natural point of aim was, or you go slow as fuck to find your sights, put them on the target, and then command the gun to go off. So other people can shoot different platforms and they're more platform agnostic. I am not. I am not platform agnostic. The platform absolutely matters to me. Can I shoot anything? Yes, I can shoot anything. Can I shoot anything fast? No. Nope. I cannot shoot everything fast. I can learn to shoot hard stuff fast. But then when I go back to shoot easy stuff, I have to recalibrate myself. Okay. Good question, Joel. I appreciate you asking. And, I know Joe Chambers is going to call me and he's going to be like, what the fuck? You didn't tell everybody 2011's best thing ever. Joe knows what I'm talking about, man. If there's a fundamental difference in the input, the tactile input that this gun is giving you and the grip angle, so that when you push it out, if your wrist is doing this all weekend at competition, and then watch this, guys. The grip angle is different. And if I present this gun at the same grip angle of this gun, look at how my sights are up higher. So we call this healing. So if I punch this gun out, natural point of aim, and I don't use that, and I get on this trigger and I make it go bang, D-ring, D-ring, C-ring on a USPSA. Point shooting. That's what's up. I could be point shooting perfect, natural point of aim with that 2011. If I do that all weekend, shoot a couple thousand rounds to that gun, and then I do the same thing, there it is. I haven't been shooting Glock, so I didn't even look at my sights. Look at how that gun is cocked up like that. So that is sights on target. Look at how that gun is tracked. Okay. Nope. Down. Nope. Down. And it's getting better. That last one, the dot was right in the top upper edge of the glass. So, nope. Down. So, I have to relearn grip angle in order to shoot this thing at combat speeds. Now, if I look at the front sight post and I make it do its thing, yeah. But in a high stress situation where I'm punching it out and everything should be lined up and I'm just checking in. Do I have dot? Yep, bling, letting it go. Sub-second draw kind of shit, right? It ain't going to be there. It's not going to be there. And then by the time I move shit around to make shit happen, I'm not at sub-second draw anymore. So just food for thought. Ben Lewis, practical realities of gunfighting with a carbine. Things that seem obvious or second nature, but might not come to mind from other perspectives or disciplines. Length of strings of fire, use of barricades, grip, idiosyncrasies, anything that comes to mind. Ben, I'm gonna hold off on that one for when I drag Tom back in here for closing comments. Nicholas H. is asking about trying to get a parallel zero, and he's getting a lot of issues with blooming. So he's talking about, hey, man, what are some different concepts? You've got a bunch of that stuff in there. You can cut out your laser hole so that it goes all the way through your target backer. And that will reduce blooming. It'll be blooming, 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 and then it'll disappear. The problem is that if you cut the hole too big so that the laser will go all the way through it, sometimes it can be within your impact area of where your live should be, and you'll be sinking bullets into your hole that you had cut out for your laser offset. So that can be a problem. Glint tape works. If it's too big, it doesn't work. If it's too small, you end up chasing it, trying to get the laser in there, and you can't ever get the laser centered on it. Matte targets like B8s can work well. If the lighting conditions are not good, like if it gets really, really dark and you're getting blooming, turn on your white light, fire your scout light at your target, and it will auto adjust your nods. Your nods will go towards the easy light, and the blooming effect of your laser will immediately go away, and it'll appear as a much fainter dot on your matte surface as a result of you throwing all this other energy out there. When it's dark as shit out and all you have is your single laser pointer on, the splash of that IR energy, your nods are trying to feed off of that to get a useful image because it's really dark outside. So that's why you get that halo or that bloom. It's the only game in town. Everything else is reflected ambient crap. When you bust that thing open with a Surefire and you throw 500 lumens of white light out there, your nods, boop, 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 and they do their auto adjusty stuff. And now they're getting energy from a bunch of different places. And your IR pointer is not the only show in town. And so it will shrink and give you a much more precise aiming point for a tighter shot group. Concerning room entry and clearing, there's a lot of training about fighting from a doorway. Don't do it. Tom, we'll leave this up for Tom as well. Just don't. Not in the world of drywall. Not in the world of drywall. Working all this stuff, whatever, you're prolonging the agony of getting in there with you and all of your friends. If you're forcing people to wait in the hallway while you are pieing and doing and threshold and whatever, you still have to end up going into that room anyway. Combat clears and a bunch of other stuff, whatever. I don't like to talk too much about tactics because I don't have a vetting process for the patron supporters. There could be an ISIS dude on here, whatever. But yeah, the bottom line is that not here in the land of sheetrock. That shit might work in the West Bank, in Gaza and Baghdad, in places where the walls have ballistic properties because of their sandstone construction. Not in American houses, Bubba. Not in American houses. As soon as I see a piece of you starting to come around, I can get after it. Dep Chan, you ask about California instructors. I don't know anything about California instructors. Ryan S. and Tom Gorman did respond to you, and they're saying that Blowers is coming to town. I'd get up on some Blowers. Yeah, I'd get up on some Blowers. Bill's a great instructor. Mate says, general consensus is that a Comp 19 shoots flatter than a 34. I wouldn't always say that. A 19 maybe. I'm still waiting for KKM KKM 19X barrel. So I can shoot my 19X against a 34 to get apples to apples with the same grip size. So if I have the same grip, and now the only thing is compensator versus slide mass and barrel length, then that's a more even argument for me. And I promised that I was going to do that eval. I just, because I've stepped away from the Glocks, I haven't followed through with, is KKM got their comps ready to ship? Are they shipping production comps? Whatever. So I haven't done a Glock 45/19X, whatever. I haven't done that versus 34 in a side-by-side comparison. People ask about why don't I shoot the Roland Special anymore? Because I don't carry concealed. I don't shoot my concealed carry gun. I'm shooting duty guns because I'm teaching people duty firearms shit. And the Roland Special was never designed to be an overt Safariland 63 whatever. Like, that's not what that gun was designed for. That was my EDC gun. That was not a duty pistol. I carry duty pistols or duty sized pistols. Big heavy gun. Big heavy gun. Big heavy gun. Big heavy gun. I carry big heavy guns for duty. Lots of bullets. All the bullets. All the bullets. All the grip. All the barrel length. All the whatever. All of it. Carry big heavy guns for HRCQB, for precision pistol. Like, that's what I carry. Carry little small guns for sidearms, field pistols, concealed carry pistols. Roland was an EDC gun that I was comfortable getting into an active shooter with. So that's why I don't shoot it a lot for videos and whatever, because I'm training full-time. When you guys saw the Roland, I was not training full-time, and that was just the gat I carried on my person. Now I'm shooting duty pistols because I'm teaching handgun more often. Brandon T wants to know what's up with the move to San Diego. I'm in the Brain Treatment Center. I'm in an 8-week program, getting my brain zapped Monday through Friday in an effort to redo the brain waves and get my various lobes or cortexes of the brain communicating with one another on parity at the same frequencies at the same time, which will improve cognitive performance. I'm trying to regain some of my lost cognitive performance as a result of traumatic brain injury. The same procedure is used on people that have autism, some types of clinical depression, like chemical related depression, whatever, traumatic brain injury, things like that. So Spooner's been here longer than I have, and he is getting a tune-up. So he's not here for the full thing because he did the full thing last year. This is my first time here. So I will be here for another 5 weeks after Tom's gone. So this is where I'm at all summer. I won't be back traveling again until in September. So I took 2 months away from my family to focus on getting healthy. And I'm trying to also get some physical therapy knocked out while I'm out here, but I'm having trouble with insurance and whatever and stuff on that. I might end up just goddamn going to the gym and hoping I don't hurt myself. We talked about, so Rajev is asking about shot under night vision first time last week. Noticed the recoil control with the rifle and laser is not as good as when he's using an optic. Has anybody else experienced this initial deficiency? That was the entire conversation that we had earlier in video 1 where Tom and I talked about historically in our organization, we've considered lasers to be less than optimal. Viz lasers were slower. Body position changed, resulting in less recoil management, which meant slower split times or tracked rounds that were tracking off because you were doing something different than being mounted on the gun. So just bringing your head up, lowering the rifle down, shooting more lazily, doing all these other things. You're changing fundamentally how you shot instead of trying to do the exact same thing, but do it with a laser turned on. And there's reasons for that as far as your nods, looking over your rifle, looking next to your rifle, IR splash coming off your rifle, getting the emitters below field of view. There's reasons why. That's why you should take a night vision class, because shooting under night vision is fundamentally different. You want to try to keep as much shit the same so that you could still run the gun efficiently, but there's some head position stuff that can vary from shooter to shooter, night vision setup to night vision setup. That's going to create some visual issues for you that are going to force you out of the most efficient firing position for your rifle to manage recoil and have faster splits. But yes, it's absolutely normal. Ben Lewis, favorite thing is Panda Express. Dude, honestly, that's the first time I've ever had Panda Express. Tom's brother Scott brought it over. I had the Kung Pao chicken, and it was a lot spicier. Like, I like good spicy food, and like, I don't think commercial restaurants can make food spicy enough. The Kung Pao was like, I was like, I'm not going to go searching for extra spice. You've done it. Like, I'm like, yep, yeah. This is all right. So yeah, I've got to go Kung Pao on the Panda Express. Do you think it's worth keeping a driveway special while living in a banned state if shit were ever to pop off? I mean, you're asking me to go on record and talk about whether I shoulda, woulda, coulda violate the law. I mean, the book answer is no. I follow the firearms laws of the jurisdictions that I'm in, and if I don't like those firearms laws, I move to a different jurisdiction. And the statists are going to continue to herd us, and we are trading space for time. We're avoiding the inevitable, which is a reckoning, a immovable object coming into contact with an unstoppable force. As long as we can dodge the bullet, figuratively, most of us that respect the rule of law and respect the country as it was organized, this republic, don't want to be criminals, don't want to be terrorists, don't want to hurt other Americans. So it would just be easier to pack up our shit and move. Unfortunately, there are others that don't believe the way that we believe that are counting on our respect for the rule of law, and they're taking advantage of it. You know, in a situation where the rule of law no longer matters, if you start the game less than fully prepared, that sucks. My son plays Fortnite, and I seen it where, like, he jumps in and he starts out and he has crappy guns because that's what he grabbed, and then he has to start zapping fools, and he gets their guns when he zaps them, and he continues to trade up in the guns that he comes across on the Fortnite video game battlefield. So my 12-year-old has figured out that although it is not optimal to start with a Surefire Defender with double-ended strike bezel, If you don't think I won't kill somebody with this flashlight, you're sorely mistaken. I will kill someone with this flashlight. I will drive this thing until I am covered in their gray matter and take whatever they have. That is far from optimal, but it is called a defender for a reason. I will temple strike somebody until I get to the other temple with this flashlight. So never judge your ability to properly equip yourself as counting yourself out of the fight. Your mindset is going to be what is going to carry you through. And you'll just be living the life of battlefield recovery, man. BP, we already talked about 2011s and high-end platforms versus lower-end platforms. The crapshoot. BP's asking about Night Fighter versus STI Host versus a tricked out 1734. If I'm going to buy a 2011 initially, I would want a 5-inch. That's just my opinion, but that's what I would prefer. There's a possibility that you guys might see a smaller than 5-inch press check Chambers custom gun later on, but I like the recoil management. I like the flat shooting, the weight. I mean, that's the reason why I'm carrying a big, heavy, clunky gun. Is it's not just about the single action trigger. It's about how the gun tracks and how it fires under rapid fire. So I believe we covered this when we covered the Nighthawk versus Night Fighter later on. All right. BP asks if I could have one pistol, one AR, one shotgun, Glock 19, 12.5-inch Hodge Mod 2, Beretta 1301, probably a Surgeon. I really don't care very much about bolt guns. Probably a Surgeon, and depending on how big the Surgeon was, if I was running like a 338 bolt gun, then I'd probably get Schmidt Bender 525, probably. The new Night Force, though, the ATACR, whatever it is, the big fatty ATACR, that glass is freaking wicked, man. Yeah, might change my answer to that big fat ass ATACR. That thing's next level, like next level. John Kirk. I can't remember what ALS holster. I did a video of it. I think it's on go to my regular YouTube channel. And I have a video where I put this into an ALS. And I read the holster model. I don't have it here with me, I don't think. It's a 6390, but I don't know which. I don't know. I can't remember which model it was. I think it was the G34 with X300 or 400. Anyway, go watch my video on my YouTube channel. All right, single most helpful lesson you learned during your time in the Army. Man, where do you guys get these questions from? Oh, I don't know, man. I remember one of the never really got to use it in combat, but I remember a couple of lessons that I learned the hard way. I had my EOTech go to bed on me when I went to lunch and came back from lunch, and my EOTech turned off, and I didn't check it, and I ended up missing a target because I just shot through the glass, and I got in trouble. And I did not have my visible laser turned on or my diffuser caps open on my LA5 because it was a daytime run. And I was associating, because I grew up in a PEC-2 world, that was a night vision thing. That was part of my night vision prep. And to this day, I have never gone into a shoot house with a laser attached to my weapon that I did not remove the diffuser caps and place it in the visible mode prior to going into the shoot house for a day run, because it's an additional aiming system that I had available to me that was on my weapon that was powered down, because I didn't think of it as an additional supplemental daylight aiming device. Squad live fires. Knew we had a wire obstacle as part of the run, had my bolt cutters slung, platoon sergeant making us do the live fire with our full-on rucks, like we were patrolling and got into contact. So we had to dump rucks, and we had to consolidate rucksacks and get them back onto the objective after the as part of the consolidation reorganization phase. So we had to go through the planning of moving guys, moving dudes back, securing everybody's rucksacks, bringing them back up onto the objective, passing them back out to dudes, all of that stuff. Platoon sergeant wanted to go through all of those processes during this squad react to contact live fire. So I've got my bolt cutter slung, and my squad leader says, team leader, my squad leader says, that's interesting. I've never seen you patrol with your bolt cutters around your body before. Put your bolt cutters in your fucking rucksack, because that's where you patrol with them. And so I did. And then I go to start off again. He goes, oh, that's interesting. You're the alpha team leader. I've never seen you navigate in the woods without your compass before. Get your effing compass out. So I had to start the live fire exercise with my lensatic compass in my hand and my bolt cutters in my rucksack. After we made contact, I dropped rucksack, and then squad leader gave the order due to how the terrain went. He brought B team up online and got them online with the gun, and A team actually had a better route to pull back and flank. So even though I was the initial base of fire element, we pulled off and then conducted the flank. And I did not secure my bolt cutters. So I got up there, and I was about 2 bounds away from the wire, and I realized I don't have my bolt cutters. They're back in my rucksack. But I bought a set of Swiss wire cutters, concertina cutters, and I had them in an extra ammo pouch in my Alice pack, in my on my extra 30 round Alice mag pouch. And so the squad leader's like, "Oh crap, we forgot the bolt cutters," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, it's your fault." And then I remembered I had these things that had just been, sitting in my pouch doing nothing, just being extra stupid weight, and I whipped them out. And I was like, "I got these," and he's like, "Sweet, awesome." And they were hard. I mean, it's hard to cut. It ain't like with bolt cutters, cut through the concertina, and the live fire went okay. So I learned a lesson about storing bolt cutters, about not being so jocked up and amped up to want to conduct a dynamic flank, that you're not digging into your approach load and removing attack load items and taking them with you. Probably, not probably, definitely my 203 gunner left the CLS bag back in the pack. So if we had taken a casualty on target, we would have been doing self-aid, buddy aid with just the field dressings we had, calling forward, up, get up here. Like, it would have been like that. We would have been calling back for dudes to bring rucksacks forward, to then dig in the rucksacks, to then get the CLS bag out, to then do these other things. So that mad minute of, pull back, pregnant pause, mad minute, make sure that everybody knows what's up in the middle of this gunfight, secure equipment needed to actually fight. We're reacting to contact at this point, but we're about to attack. So go from reacting to contact, reconfigure my kit, our kit collectively. What are we going to need up there? What if they have wire? Bring the bolt cutters. What if somebody gets shot? Bring the aid bag. What if there's a bunker? Grab your fucking law. And then flank and attack. Or with a squad, don't even flank. Just get online and go right down there. Push it right down their throat. You should not be flanking with just a squad size element unless you're the only people out there. So that was a good lifelong lesson learned. Firearms rack. Are there any products that you feel are highly underrated? I think that Cogworks extended slide stop, now that I've seen how many guys in classes are overriding their slide stops, like when I looked at that thing, I was like, man, that could I don't have problems with riding my slide stop since I got away from the Teardrop Factory 34 and went to the Vickers that came out to the side. The Vickers doesn't interfere with me at all, but there are other guys that still activate that crap. I have not heard of a single negative. Like the bad lever was not free lunch. You had reliability possibilities with attaching the mass of that bad lever onto the bolt catch of an AR. I have heard no one come back and say that zigzaggy metal on the side of your slide extra whatever is causing anything mechanically with those Glocks. Nobody that's got one of those Cogworks slide stops has said, man, Chuck, this thing causes my gun to lock back in the middle of a magazine, for example, or whatever. I've heard no negative feedback, but I haven't used one. I haven't bought one. I haven't used one because I ain't got those kind of problems really on a day-to-day. But I used to have them pretty bad. And before I stumbled across the Vickers slide stop, I had a terrible problem with the Glock Factory extended teardrops. So by moving that teardrop kind of up above whatever, in theory, I think that product probably works pretty damn good. Yeah. I haven't seen a whole lot of gimmicky shit either lately. Of course, I'm not looking. I'm not shopping for the next mousetrap necessarily. I'm pretty happy, pretty settled into my, what I got going on. Let me think. Underrated. Or overrated, I should say. I don't know. We'll have to see about the Acro P1. I mean, the thing is doing what it's supposed to do. Other than the frustrations of this tool and having this to put clicks on the optic, and then like battery life, like whatever, man. I don't ever walk around my shit like on max brightness at all. But as long as I know what that is, what that battery life threshold is, then I can work around it. If this optic is shitting Tiffany cufflinks and the only thing that's downside to it is battery life, I'll get the Samsung out, man, and I'll put Sunday at 6 p.m. Replace Aimpoint battery. Recurring 4 weeks. Save. And my phone will vibrate every 4 weeks, Sunday at 6 p.m. and tell me, replace your damn Aimpoint battery. If this site is really all that, I'll deal with a 4-week battery life. Like cost of doing business. I carried an EOTech from 2001 to 2017. How many size in batteries do you think I replaced in 16 years? Well, I went to an XPS, but probably at least till 2012, 2013. So I got at least a hot decade with a 551. How many size in 551 batteries do you think I replaced in 11 fucking years of combat? A lot. So whatever. Battery life doesn't scare me. I mean, do I kind of think there's something to be said about a little bit of blue tint for a little bit of battery life? Yeah. Maybe a little bit of blue tint's a thing, but yeah, whatever, man. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna go give a holler for Tom and get him back in here, and we're gonna talk for probably about 30 more minutes, answer these couple questions, and I gotta let y'all go, man. We are at 5, so shit, this is gonna be almost 6 hours. So I promised you guys content. Y'all can come back, rewatch this. I can't believe 20 of you guys, 24 of y'all have stuck it out. Fucking thank you for the support. It is truly humbling. Let me go see if Spooner is available. Thank you for your service, Misha. Tom, you up? Oh, I gotta clear off Tom's chair. Tom's chair's got guns on it. Sorry, Tom, got guns on your chair. Let me move all these guns. Yeah, they sit. And the microphone fell down. Sorry.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're still live. Sorry. Don't worry about that. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. Back to the $5 guys. There's 1 or 2 Tom questions in there.
Hopefully, I'm not being too much of a full letdown on the answering the questions.
Cody Jacobs wants to know, what do you consider some of the most important qualities from someone in a leadership position on a team? Thanks. You know I gave you that shit.
Leadership qualities. I can just tell you mine. You know what I look for. And for me, it's as a leader that cares about me and my family all the way. So defined care to me means that going to give me left and right limits, clear left and right limits, an end state, and then provided I stay within those limits, going to provide me full top cover and do whatever it is that I need to do the job that is asked me to do, all the while keeping my best interest in heart, because I'm one of those guys, like many guys, not that I'm anything special, that we'll always go above and beyond. We'll always put the team first. We'll always do that. And good leader to me, will shut my ass down whenever it's time to basically to say no. The leader's never, well, I won't say never, rarely had to kick me in the ass to get motivated. It's always been had to pull the reins back on me. So that's what translates good leadership to me. I mean, yeah, there's decisiveness, there's all these other different things, but if I had to just pick one thing, is that I know that this leader gives a shit about me, fully knowing that always the mission is first. The mission, I mean, not compromising of the mission, and then, just
No.
demonstrating that, yeah, like they give a shit. But how about you, Chuck?
I think the technical and tactical proficiency is important. I think that being nerdy book smart is not as important. I want a leader that knows where to find the answers when there is time to research the question. So Tom doesn't need to know the amount of space between the ribbons on a ribbon rack because that's not going to get people killed in combat. As long as he knows that AR 670 1 covers that information and he can go find out that it needs to be eighth quarter half or eighth half quarter, excuse me, on the Class A uniform or whatever. And I'm using a really wide example for that. But even something as simple as zeroing your laser. If you have a cheat card, you don't ever have to memorize it. You really don't have to memorize that. I would rather have a leader that understands how to read the underlying folds of the earth and make a solid decision in a fight of we need to go left or we need to flank right, and then be able to articulate after that gunfight like how he read the terrain or what he thought the enemy was doing that gave us a position of tactical advantage choosing a right flank maneuver as opposed to a left flank maneuver. That guy's got to have that type of seasoned experience to be able to make that call. And if he thinks that there's anybody else in that group that might know more than him, the ability, if the time permits, to go, I'm thinking right. Anybody got a problem with that? And allowing somebody to be like, hey, have you thought about, it's not leadership by committee. It's understanding that he might not have all of the answers. And if he has a piece of cover, like we're all up against the wall, like from here, we're getting shot at. But while we're here, let's have a mad minute. What do y'all think? Roll around this way and take them from the high ground, sneak around through the riverbed and come up the backside. Whatever. That kind of guy that knows what he knows and is comfortable making a decision, but also knows what he doesn't know and is comfortable in asking for a sounding board real quick. But if he ain't got it, if there ain't time, if we're stuck out in the open, he's gonna make a call and he's gonna stick with it.
Yeah, and I think better for me is the really defining what level of leadership. When we say just a blanket statement, leadership, it's kind of like saying direct action. Like, what are you talking about? It's because the kind of leadership that is needed on the ground, like Chuck was saying, is significantly different by position of a leader that is higher up. And like the big thing that came to mind when Chuck was talking was, the leader that's removed from the battlefield, the qualities that I would look for in that person would be different than the qualities like Chuck was saying. And I was saying, like, basically the on the ground, in the mud, day to day kind of thing. For me, with the few layers up removed from the battlefield, leader does just what Chuck says, because they, and that being that one of the biggest reasons why the units that we were in were so successful is because they were bottom up. driven. The leaders on top knew if I take care of these guys on the bottom, they're going to look like rock stars. If they provide us top cover assets, everything that we need to do, we are going to make them look like the best thing, successful. We're going to make them be successful. Everyone will win. So it kind of goes all the way up. Different things are needed at different positions. And just one thing for my personal leadership, whenever I was this young 22-year-old stud, had been 2 years in the Army, Ranger qualified. I was a corporal in my platoon, in the 82nd, and my platoon sergeant was a Vietnam veteran. He was a Marine in Vietnam, then saw the light and joined the Army. Just kidding, he just tried to change it up. And
not sorry.
So he asked me, whenever I'd been to Ranger School, I'd been to PLDC, Primary Leadership Development course, course that to be an NCO, you have to go to. I've been to the board, about to be a sergeant. I was just, my shit didn't stink, say. And he asked me, he's like, okay, Corporal Spooner, what's the mission of the NCO? And I'm like, well, the mission comes, I was like, I've been graduated PLDC, man, and the mission comes first, and then health and welfare of the troops. He's like, oh yeah, okay, that's good. He's like, well, what does health and welfare of the troops mean? And like, in my mind, it's like beans, bullets. I know their wife's name. I know, my little card in my cargo pocket, that has all the information, the leader card, health and welfare. And he's like, no, dickhead. Health and welfare of the troops means that you provide them with the training and what is needed for them to survive and thrive in combat. That's what health and welfare of the troops means. And that was a completely different item than what was on that little in my cargo pocket. Although that was part of it, it was only the smallest part of it, so to give my guys that worked for me the ability to survive and thrive, in combat, that was my responsibility. And that, what I could do, the things that were within my power, combat is combat. Guys die even if you do all the right things. So not talking about that aspect of it, but at the end of the day, looking back and saying like, hey, or did I do all that I could to give them that's pretty clear instructions, the ability to survive and thrive in combat. And that's what set the tone for me personally, and then what I looked for others, because this was coming from a guy that wasn't coming from books or anything. It was coming from, he had survived, many years in Vietnam. So
yeah, Tom's point about the echelon of leadership position is absolutely critical to the conversation.
Framing it up.
So in my experience, when we look at, and this is coming up a lot in like self-help books and like leadership forums and all that executive I don't want to call it crap because you actually specialize in that, but we compare and contrast a leader versus a manager. There are qualities in managers that are more necessary and critical in the upper echelon of military leadership. There are more qualities in what we define as a leader, like Leonidas. Like, I need a Leonidas platoon leader. I don't need a Leonidas brigade commander. I need a dude that is more along the lines of, more of a management guy. They understand systems. They understand how to delegate. They don't micromanage. They are very, very smart. They make command decisions and give guidance, and then they allow subordinates to execute. And that is a very, very good quality of like executive level management. Leaders are the ones that are worried about the person and worried about development of the team and getting them to be effective and showing personal and moral courage and all of those things, leading by example. That is much more critical of your small unit action key leaders that are on the ground with the guys. So it takes different types of dudes. And let us not forget that the dude that's running Afghanistan right now was on the ground with the dudes leading with great personal courage during the Battle of Mogadishu. Mm-hmm. So he's the whole package. The guy is managing an entire war for our country, but at one time led a small group of men in a desperate fight.
So that all those men speak highly of.
Fact.
Because there was other leaders there. Some were speaking highly of, some wasn't. He was the one that was like, guys had nothing but good to say.
That's fact. Like I've met some amazing commissioned officers in my time in the military and served directly under them. I mean, I knew the guy that just retired as the CENTCOM commander, Joe Votel, since he was a captain. The guy that just retired and gave up all of U.S. SOCOM was my battalion commander as an 05. The guy that is running Afghanistan now, I worked for him as an 06. One of my he supported me. I just found out that this command sergeant major that's about to take over the Joint Special Operations Command was the ops sergeant major supporting my platoon during OEF1. So I guess I'm getting older than I thought I was. The dude's a division sergeant major now, and he's about to take over JSOC. And I'm like, oh, I remember he was the battalion ops sergeant major, or a battalion ops sergeant. But anyway, my point is that I met some fine officers, and they were able to both inspire people on the ground at a tactical level and then think and process with a strategic level of thought. So, yeah. Anyway, we got a couple more questions, and I'll let y'all go since we are pushing the edge of the envelope here. I'm glad we broke this down into 2 videos. It'll make editing it that much easier. Oh, yeah. David asked, I have a family friend who just joined the Army and is wanting to become a Green Beret. Oh, all up in somebody else's lane. Any advice that you could pass along to him in the start of his career as an X-18 X-ray?
Oh, no kidding. So X-ray is what you're saying? He's coming in as an X-ray?
I don't know. It actually didn't say that. It said he was coming.
So either way, the thing about how to pass selections, how to pass hard courses, pretty much all hold true. It's a given. The guy knows that you got to be in shape. You got to be able to walk long distance with a rucksack pretty fast. Push-ups, sit-ups, pull-up. The normal kind of stuff. The biggest thing and the only things that would be within his power or anyone's power is not screwing up the things that are within his power, which is right place, right time, right uniform. Those things right there. And then they'll tell him, don't be late and don't be light. So other than that, that is all the things that any individual can do. The only other thing with that is do not quit. If you don't meet what it is they're looking for, make sure that you make them tell you that. Don't self-select out for any reason. So just fully commit at a level of commitment that I'm sure he has yet to experience. But how I did that was like, hey, I am going to die walking or running or pushing or whatever it is I'm doing before I quit. That's the one thing that I think, especially young guys, and I'm not sure if he's coming X-ray or even it's harder, definitely harder if he is an X-ray coming straight from the street into that, because there's no context that how horribly bad that is going to suck. anything that's worthy in the military. But the other thing, if he's coming from another unit, he's already got a little bit of mental toughness and a little bit of idea coming to it. But that would be the biggest thing. Don't be late. Don't be light. Right place, right time, right uniform. Do not cut it. Do not fucking quit ever, at all costs.
There's an alternate kind of death by 1,000 cuts that I've seen as an outsider looking in. And that is how long and grueling that fucking process is. Like there's timing wise. And so I got out of this course, but I don't start language till whatever, or heaven forbid, I hurt myself or whatever. And so, and then after, so the bottom line is that when you're not actively in one of these courses, you're just meat. You're just fresh meat that they can do whatever they want to with you. That's pull staff duty. That's go out and do op 4. That's mow the damn grass. And so you are mentally prepared yourself to like all the cool guy Velcro and Fastex buckles and mini hand grenades and whatever that you saw in Hollywood. And you are on week 6 of 24 hours of staff duty, 24 hours off. Or you are pulling weeds with your bare hands because they don't even have a weed whacker that works because it's out of spool and nobody cares about you. And so they send you off and they're like, all right, pull all these weeds. But sir, the weed whacker's out of string. I don't care. Pull by hand. And
they want you to quit.
And dudes jacket in there. Like, they got their head in the game for, I'm going to walk down this tank trail till somebody tells me to stop. But then they get backdoored in the stupid crap. The admin time in between the graded stuff is dangerous. It's dangerous for you. You got to keep your eye on the long ball.
Yeah, because that's a great point, Chuck, because it's, you know, anything can happen. An injury happens. You get recycled. I've been recycled when I was at Ranger School. You know, like I said, in the gulag, like all of that, in any course that you're at, it goes back to that level of commitment when you decide that, say to yourself, like, this is, or I say to myself, this is what I want to do, then I'm committed. No matter, like you said, no matter how stupid the detail, no matter how hard the work, don't quit.
It's fact. Okay. I think it was 2 more questions in the $1 section that I kicked the can down the road till Tom got here. I gave you all the tough ones. Ben Lewis wants to know practical realities of fighting with a carbine. Any pointers that seem obvious or second nature to us, but that might not come to mind for one of these guys, or somebody that has maybe only shot rifle and 3-gun or something like that. Length of strings of fire, your use of barricade, any grip idiosyncrasies, or anything else human efficiency-wise with the man-machine interface that you can think.
Which one of that was this one?
That's that one.
Length of strings of fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an easy one. The difference between competition, say, and a real life gunfight, there is no length of string of fire. The sights tell you when to shoot, and you engage the threat until it's no longer a threat. That could be in my first shot, and the target goes down, and so I've engaged the threat. It is no longer a threat. It could be 10 rounds, but knowing, and again, there's no strings of fire because, like on the range, that's what we always talk about, how it's the most unrealistic environment ever. Because, I mean, it's great for marksmanship and fundamentals and working and all that stuff that we love doing. But it's understanding that in real life, in real life in a gunfight. Gunfight defined not a killing, but a gunfight. You're shooting at me, I'm shooting at you. If that when that is going on, at minimum, one thing is happening, and that is one of us is going to be moving, either the one that's getting shot at or the one that's doing the shooting. And then the second, more than likely, is both of us are moving. So if you try to run a bill drill or a string of, though I love doing bill drills for what they're intended for, um, back to all Chuck's no fail pistol, no fail right, like no fail environment, which means my living room in my house, with my kids and the other, yeah, I just have to shoot this bullet trap. And so the the two things that, as long as I do it, I'll never screw it up, is my sights tell me when to shoot. Um, and I engage the threat until it's no longer a threat. The other thing that, just very briefly, I could go talk about a long time, is the fallacy of the headshot. Um, is just real quick. I mean, even when you're playing football, basketball, any of that stuff, head fakes, right? Head is the most erratic thing that moves on our body. And when Chuck and I talk about headshot, we're talking about this credit card size ocular cavity, that is meant to blow out this little part back here that turns everything off. Right. So this is not a headshot. This is not a headshot. I mean, we had a senator that got shot 6 times in the head, and she's still out there trying to take away guns. I mean, I mean? It's and all respect to her and her health and everything like that. The point with that being is that, the fallacy of like the headshot, there's only one thing. But how are you, okay, I'll ask this. If like the headshot happens, you shoot me in the ocular cavity. What if you see this? What if you see this? Where is that headshot? So that's a huge thing as it relates to working a carbine or anything else in a combat environment. Is, I know, especially when I was active duty and working with my team, that I could take headshots all day long. I mean, it was never a problem. And then I looked at myself on target, and it's like, okay, of all the people that I've engaged, how many of them were headshots? I can tell you right now how many of them. One out of a few. And that was the reason that one was taken, is because that was the only thing that was offered. Everyone else's, there's usually so much going on. And I'll use it specifically, not a combat veteran. So you'll be experiencing the most stress you've ever experienced your entire life. Many things will be going on around. Now everybody's moving. And now I'm going to tell you that I'm going to take the hardest shot there is under the most duress. It's stupid. I mean, and then for myself, even be experienced, it was always in that upper thoracic, in the heart, in the arteries area, all of that, because I could put many rounds, because my sights were telling me to do that quicker at short CQB distances. And then once the body and the head was mobilized, then if necessary to take a headshot, that would be the time to do it. And I'm not talking about executing somebody or something against the laws of land warfare, Chuck. I'm talking about like, hey, this still needs to be immobilized. Now I can safely and accurately take that headshot because I know my target, know what's behind it, and I know where it's going to go. But again, I can go on and on about that because I hate that whole thing that's promoted about, about like, oh yeah, I'm gonna shoot him in the face, and it's like, what about now? Most people don't know that this is the part you're trying to get to in the brain, right back here. The switch. So that was the sights tell me when to shoot. Engage the threat till it's no longer a threat. I shoot in the upper thoracic, which for me and my rifle, because you mentioned rifles, so I know my CQB hold, which is the bore height for me on 100 meter zero, if that's what I have on there. But at any rate, a CQB distance is my bore height. And so for me, that sounds like this when I'm pulling the trigger in the neck, and the neck, and the neck, because I put the dot in the neck and it drops it down right into the upper thoracic, and then top of the head, top of the head, top of the head, my dot is here, it drops it down into the ocular cavity. So yeah, knowing those holds. Did I miss anything on that, Chuck?
No, I mean, he's just in general, like anything rifle related. He gave us a couple of examples for talking points. The whole aim small, miss small thing, though, guys. So first off, from our culture, you guys will hear us say CQB offset or CQB hold. Mechanical offset is an industry term that they're interchangeable. So when somebody's giving you carbine one and they talk about mechanical offset, applying mechanical offset when shooting, aiming one place, putting your bullets in a desired location, and knowing where that aiming place needs to be to deliver your bullet in a desired location. Vernacular wise, in our culture, that's just CQB offset, CQB hold.
I got another one. Is the just briefly again, because we can go long in all these discussions, but the whole switching shoulders. You know what I mean? So switching shoulders. The rule of thumb with that is number one, you should be comfortable enough to know that you have confidence to shoot your offhand, whichever hand that is. So have that kind of confidence. But just really in a high stress environment, you need to ask yourself, like, there's only one thing that stops someone from shooting at me, and that is to accurately engage them. So what is my best platform and chances of ending that engagement as rapidly as possible? For me, a lot of time that's accepting an exposure to this side. I don't rely on the enemy's marksmanship to keep me safe. I rely on my ability to put rounds where I want them to do that. That's the 80% rule. 20% is doing that. The other thing that just mentioning about is the high ready. The high ready is I spent my whole military career with 99% of the time in combat, in shoot houses, in everything with the low ready. Short version of that story is at the high ready, I cannot put a tourniquet around your neck. If there is an AD, an ND, a mechanical, something goes on, and you know, I mean, I'm going to shoot in the head. However, I can put one from the top of your thigh all the way down if shit goes all the way wrong. I could go on for days about that. Does it have its place? Absolutely. But to me, that's an exception to the rule, not what you see these people running around and, if it's ridiculous. I get very excited about talking that. Any other big ones?
No, offset aiming, but not just applying mechanical CQB hold, whatever you want to call it, but aiming at a specific spot. It is really easy at CQB distances to accept crazy wobble zones. And you have to understand that, like if I bust into a dude's living room while he's eating and he reaches and grabs his pistol and he's sitting at the head of his table, fresh tomatoes, family on both sides, and he's wearing a Dish Dasher. The Dish Dash is baby blue. He's got a crew neck white t-shirt on under that. I am trying to put the bullets right at the base of the V-neck on his Dish Dasher. And so that reticle might be lollipopping right on the edge of his t-shirt. And when I start pressing and the EOTech reticle is moving, I'm trying to get that reticle to touch that t-shirt again as that guy is doing. I'm tracking and retouching that index point again so that the next round is going to land exactly wherever. So it is not looking at the dude's shoulder blades and choosing somewhere in the middle of the baby blue to put my reticle. So you just got to kind of think of that, like, I'm looking for a pinpoint precise area to deliver an accurate amount of fire very, very fast. It's a re-index point of this offset hold, whether that be the chin, the middle of the throat, the guy's depression. Does he have chest hair hanging out? If there's nothing, I might be using like the corner of his pine cigarettes or that stick that he uses to clean his teeth with. Those are all visual reference points for me that I can key off of to get those sights aligned over the good stuff that I want. And I am no way ever accepting at CQB distances a reticle that looks like this and trying to pull the trigger like that. I've got to refine something. I've got to tighten that body position up, which goes back to what Tom was saying. When you start doing all these funky tactical dry runs and you're running around and you're compressing the rifle up close to you so you're not flagging, and so you've got the gun cocked at a halfway and the shoulders, your rifle's over your shoulder like it's a law, and you're punching into the room and then digging your corner, and all these dry runs, your gun's looking a whole lot like this. And then I start asking you to apply rounds, and what do they do? All of a sudden the guns are coming straight up and down again because they know likey the offset of the 45 degree of the offset. Well, maybe you shouldn't run around and do 100 dry fire runs with your gun in a 45 degree offset if you want to have your red dot directly over the bore when you start shooting bullets and it matters.
Yeah, and all the being held personally accountable to it, meaning that I'm going to lose my job. If I screw this shot up, and then all the shoot houses that I've run, holding folks to account because we always have a standard. They'll be running around like Chuck was saying with the 45 with this ergonomically comfort kind of thing going on. And then as soon as the shit hits the fan and like, I got to now take that shot. And I won't say myself because I don't do that. they always, sink it back in. It's like, okay, if I'm going to do that anyway, why am I bullshitting with this kind of ergonomically thing? Why not figure out what I need to do ergonomics wise to keep in this great firing position with minimal movement that, I can close my eyes and do if necessary. I wouldn't really do that, but it just sounded good at the time. Is, hey, just the whole practice like you fight. And like Chuck was saying, the aim small, miss small, and like in the past we called them landmarks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So just looking for these different kind of landmarks, because while I'm looking at that person, because the hardest thing about the thing that takes the most time with any law enforcement, within any military, is this a threat or not? Making the decision that, okay, now you are a threat and I engage the threat till it's no longer a threat. That's what takes the most time, is IDing, is discrimination. Discriminating, is this a shoot target or a no shoot target? That takes the most time, right? Once that decision making has been made, then it's all my range work. If I've done everything appropriately on the range. But while I'm discriminating, I'm looking at the hands, I'm looking at the demeanor, what needs to happen next. As my gun's coming up, I'm looking for that landmark. Maybe it's a button on the shirt. Maybe like Chuck says, the V-neck. Maybe it's the brim of the hat. If I'm using my rifle and I have offset, so that piece of it. And then a good thing to do, don't do this for real, but like on the television, like don't let the first time you put your sights on a human being be the first time you've ever seen that image. I'm not talking about a cartoon target, like even if it's TV where there's a full-size human sitting up there or smaller, like what do my sights on my pistol look like on a human being that's right there inside of my face, and I can back up and all that kind of stuff. Because again, I don't need new shit happening in the most stressed out time I've ever had. Have you said that before, Chuck?
No, I'm laughing because you and I were both in 1st Battalion, and when I was broke and had no money, we used to go up on top of the barracks. We'd go up the fire escape, and we would do mill relation formula and dry fire on the officers that were going in the front door brigade across Ardennes. They had from the time the dude put his beret on till he got to the front door to get a mill on him. Yeah. And then they had to dry fire from the roof because we didn't have any money to train. So we just dry fired at people so that the snipers got used to, I'd go through, I'd clear all the guns. Yep, we're good to go, and take them. and we would and they would do unknown distance mill relation on real people walking, and then that was the tertiary benefit, was sight pictures, taking up sight pictures on people.
And that was only on officers.
Right, only on
I mean,
officers.
just, you know,
Just
just all NCOs out there. Like, hey, that never happened. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think that might be our last one. Let me check. Practical Realities Gunfighting Carbine. Click on that one. Good instructor in Central Valley. No, we already covered that. Yep, I think that covers it. Okay, guys. Let me check chat. Okay. All right, guys. Marathon. 6 hours. 5 hours. 6 hours. No, it's 7 o'clock. Yeah.
6 hours.
6 hours. 6 hours of content. So sorry I ruined your Panther party at the end of June and doing my podcast. Yeah, we're trying to make up for that. For the new patrons that just signed on, welcome. Go back and look at all the old stuff. All these videos are archived. They're all available to you guys when you buy on to the site. I'm so happy that Tom was willing to come out and help kind of meet with you guys. What's your podcast that you and Scott do, man?
Me and Scott do. It's called Original Freedom. Original Freedom, ogfree.com. But we got a podcast. We got a bunch of videos. It's mainly in the personal development vein. And we got the podcast is pretty decent. I mean, a little funny in there, covers some good content, and but Original Freedom.
So yeah, if you guys are down with this stuff, and I'm not talking about like on the nerdy side, if you guys like my talks about like my journey and personal growth, personal development, like all that stuff, or just like hearing philosophy or thoughts from guys that come from my background, my similar backgrounds to mine. Watching Tom and Scott kind of play off each other is pretty awesome. I thought they were very, very closer in age than they are, because they're so close. If you never had a brother, or either you're a single kid or you were raised with a bunch of sisters or whatever, watching these two guys together is everything that you thought that having a brother would be. There's people that actually have brothers and like, man, that shit ain't all it's cracked up to be or whatever. But if you never had any brothers, watching these two guys interact with each other, it's like next level. It'll make you even more jealous that you didn't have a brother to hang out with, and to really truly be there with you and be there for you. So thanks for coming out, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, brother. Hell yeah.
And guys, thanks for everything. We're going to edit and chop up some of this or whatever. You guys know how it goes. So you'll see some of this content in smaller snippets behind the fence. A little bit of this content might get snippets and outside of the fence. We'll see. Promise you guys, in July we'll do another thing. I will do some Forerunner walk around stuff and some equipment stuff, and we'll do another Q&A in July. That's all I got. Y'all have a good night, and we're out of here.
Independence Day,
July 4th.